Hi, in the previous video I explained how we can register user using front-end Angular application and backend Django. In this video I will show you how we can log in user and authenticate this. So at this time we do have a working example of registering user, having that on the front end, so I can show it to you that register new user Chris and the password Chris. I can register here, and inside my network tab you can see that has been registered. Also you have some nice pop-up here. So this user has been created in our system. So what we can do now is we'll need to allow Django to authenticate this user to log in. So the login itself means nothing, because if you will send a username and password to the server, and if that server will give you a response, okay, we have that user, it doesn't mean that you can actually use it. You just check if that user exists. We need to authenticate this. So in order to do this, we need to create functionality to restrict some access only for authenticated users, and we will use tokens for this. So whenever you send your request with your username and password, you will have a token in your response, and you will use this token to authenticate yourself that you are authenticated user. That's what we want to achieve in here. And just using the opportunity, if you want to get more in details, because that will be short tutorial. If you want to know more in details, I have a full course on that on Udemy. So if you're interested, I will provide you a link with a discount for this, so feel free to use it. And so let's go back in here and go back to our API. And this is what we have and we left in the previous video. So in the URLs we have our built-in URLs as we use it, and we also have some other URL here. We are not going to use this one. We'll use something different. I'll make it shorter. So for the endpoint out, we will use something called obtain authentication token. And first thing first, we'll need to import it. So from Rest Framework, and then out a token. From here and inside views, I will import obtain authentication token method, and this method I will use it in here, and I will use it as view like this. So basically we have our endpoints here, and we'll use a built-in authentication token from the REST framework. So let's go and test it. I will take this, I will save it in here. So the application is up and running. I will go to Postman, and let's test our authentication. I will try to use this one. So you can see here the get method is not allowed, because for authentication we need to use post to use the username and password to send it to the server. So let's use the post. For now I had that included, but let's say if I don't send anything with the post, the Django will tell me that those two fields are required. So inside, if I will include this, and I have my user Chris, as you remember, I just registered that in the front end. If I will send this, I will have this error. The reason for this is the token is not an object, and it's not actually included in our database. We need to fix it. So let's go back into the settings here, and inside installed apps we'll also need to add another application. So we'll add REST framework and dot authentication token, out token. That's the name of the application. So actually you can go to the virtual environment in the site libraries. You have site packages. Inside REST framework you can see you have this application here. So if we include this and we reset the server, it's still not going to work. The reason for this is because there is no such a table as authentication token. Whenever we add something into apps, we also need to run a migration. So I will do Python manage by migrate. And as you can see, authentication token migrations has been added. If you open this folder, you can see that some migrations are actually included in this application. So Django knows that he needs to apply this on our database. Now this token has been added to our database, and if I will send the request now, you can see in return I have that token. So we'll use this token from this response to authenticate other endpoints. And the reason for why we want to do this, because at the moment our API is exposed completely. So if I will go to the get method here, and I will go back users, you can see I can see my user without any problems. Well, we could possibly do the same with the delete and other methods. So basically our API is fully exposed for anyone who wants to use it, and he will just need to form this URL. We need to restrict it only for authenticating users. Sometimes you want to see, for example, if you have a blog, you could allow people to see the headings of or the articles, but not the content. Only allow to see the content for authenticated users. So you can do that with the authentication. So you can say, okay, you will be able to see this endpoint, but not the other one. You need to be authenticated. So what we can do now is going back to our Django application. We can go to views and we can restrict some access to our application from here. So first thing first, we'll need to import a few libraries, and if you're curious, I will encourage you to read this article. That's an article from Django Rest Framework. So Django Rest Framework API Guide Permissions. And you can read how the permission works in Django. Also, you have a few methods to set up a permission policy, and we'll use is authenticated. So basically what you can do is you can apply a permission, default permission in the settings. So you just copy this and paste it in your settings. We'll apply is authenticated method for all the endpoints or all the methods in your Django. You can also do it per view. This is what we will do in a second, and you can also do it per endpoint. So if you have one method that you want to authenticate, you can apply this permission directly there. So I encourage you to read this article. It's very helpful. Let's go back here and import some classes from there. So from REST framework, and then authentication, we will import a token authentication, and also if I will copy this, I will permissions, I will copy is authenticated, and we'll use these two classes here. So we have authentication classes, and inside bracket I will do token authentication. Let's don't forget about this comma at the end, because we need to make it tell that it's a tuple. And we also do permission classes, and the same here is authenticated, and also the comma at the end. So basically what we are doing here is for any user endpoints we'll apply this. So token authentication, and we want to allow only if it's authenticated. So let's test it now. Our server is let's refresh our server. It's up and running. So if we'll try this once again, you can see here authentication credentials were not provided. So we are not able to see users unless we'll provide the token. The way to do this is, let's go back to our authentication here when we sent username and password, and take this token from here. And if we go back to the users, and if I will include in the headers authorization key, and the value will be token space, and our token we just get it from the previous call. If I will include this, you can see here I'm able to see users. If I don't include this in the headings, I'm not really able to see this. So this is the way you can restrict access to your API only for login user, and so this is very helpful. What we need to do now is we have that application that when you can register user, so let's do another step when we can log in user and get that token in our front-end application. So we have our simple app component. What we'll do is I will just copy this button. I will make it very simple, and I will do login, and on login instead of register, on login, and also I don't know, I can do register or login here. So basically we'll use the same inputs here. I know it's called register, I will just leave it as it is, rename it to input, or let's do it the right way, maybe input, input, username, input, register, and also we'll need to change it inside here, because that was the previous method, but for now, from now on, we'll use this for both login and register the users, and also I will change this. So we have on register method. I will copy this, I will paste it here, and I will rename it to login. So this button will trigger on register, another one will trigger different method. That method will login user instead of register. As you can see, it's red because we still don't have that method. I will save it for now, and let's create that method in the services here. Here I will do login user, and instead of getting the sending post method to the users, I will send post method to the Auth, as we've done in the postman here. So basically that's it. We'll use pretty much the same thing. We'll pass the user data, which is this input data, which is username and password, in fact, and we'll pass it to authentication. This is what we actually have done inside here. So we had a body when we pass username, password, post to authenticate. So we have that in here. Let me double check if we have everything okay. I will change the other, not created but logged, and then what we can do is console log, also log response for you to see what is there. So I refresh this. I have my my new application here, so I can register user or I can log in. We do have, as you remember, the Chris user here, so Chris, and I can log in now. So you can see here the post API token has been sent. My user has been logged because I got 200 response, and inside console you can see this is the response, what I'm getting. So in response I have token, and this is my token. I should use that token to apply it, include it in the headings for any call that I would like to restrict, and also I need to restrict it on the backend API. So this is how it works. You can save that token inside your global variable, so whatever you like. It depends how you design this your application. Just store it somewhere and include it for rest of the calls, otherwise it will be rejected. So this is how the login works. We have fully working register and login at this point, and it's working nicely. As I said, I encourage you to read more about this in here, because that's a great power if you can fully control what authenticated users can do and can't. As I said at the beginning of this on this tutorial. I have a more detailed explanation in here when I do also other things like creating different models. I have custom endpoints, and I also use it more in details. I explain more in details how to use authentication token, how we can actually include it in the headers in the Angular. So if you're interested more in details, go ahead and use the voucher that I will provide in the comment in this video. Also, would like to ask you to subscribe to my channel if you like this video. I would really appreciate it, and that will give me some that will encourage me to record more videos like this. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.